I mean, I don't know Stephen personally. We've interacted several times on social media. He seems like a very ethical, professional person. So I would be very, very shocked if it turned out that he was texting someone about discussing somebody's health over text.
I would imagine that kind of thing would have been better communicated via a phone conversation than instead of text message. I know if there's something serious that I want to discuss, I would rather discuss it, if not in person, at least by talking by a telephone call, not by text messages, because then you're waiting for responses, and that just heightens the tension of an already tense situation. At least that's my opinion now. That's how I would imagine things would be better dealt with.
I mean, it's just you don't get to be personal assistant to one of the most famous guys in the world by being a fucking indiscreet idiot. So even if he was texting Johnny's wife, like, it still doesn't make any sense that he would be, you know, he would be aware that his phone or her phone could get in the hands of the wrong person. Next thing, boom, 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 is all over the tabloids, their conversation. He would have, I would like to have imagined more discretion than that.
Personal assistants and, you know, their security's job is not only to protect their client from other people, but it's also to protect their client from themselves. So if Johnny was carrying out this abuse like Amber alleges, not just in private but clearly in full view of his security, it would be in their best interest to stop him, to intervene, to step in. But Amber expects us to believe that they just stood back and let it happen. You would think, in the interest of keeping their own jobs, at the most cynical, you would think they would step in just in their own self-interest.
Exactly. And, you know, that's the other thing as well. Like, she's alleging he kind of had this red mist over him whenever he got drunk and drugged. You know, but he would only aim his aggression at her when he was absolutely off his face. So, I mean, like, which one is it? You're either so drunk you don't know what you're doing, or you know exactly what you're doing. You know, it doesn't come across as a narrative for this abusive person. I mean, if he was that drunk and abusive when he got drunk, I'm sure there'd be instances where he would have attacked Stephen or Jerry Judge, God rest his soul. His bodyguard died there last week.
And just to mention Jerry Judge briefly, I mean, he wasn't just a bodyguard for Johnny, he was a bodyguard for other famous celebrities, including Arnold Schwarzenegger for some reason. Jerry didn't need Johnny if Johnny was this horrible person that kept abusing. We've all seen how Jerry manhandled Johnny, even just to get him down the red carpet. So one, how can we be expected to believe that when he was allegedly abusing Amber, he would just stand back and be like, oh, let's just see where this goes. And secondly, he would have gotten annoyed and said, you know what, I've got other clients, I don't need this shit, see you later, I've done all I can do.
Well, that's it. I mean, like, that would have, you know, if it ever came out, if it was true and he was working for this guy who was a drunk wife beater, that wouldn't be good, because Jerry owned his own like security company. That would not look good for his company. So it goes back to what you were saying once again, in the most cynical sense, to protect his own job. Instead, Jerry stayed with Johnny for 22 years.
Another aspect that Amber expects us to believe is that Johnny was inebriated or drugged off his head on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But she also wants us to believe that he carried out this campaign of abuse that was focused solely on her and was done with almost surgical like precision. We have both kind of witnessed or have been through such things. Abusers always want to be in control of the situation. They also want to have these things happen on the down low without any suspicion from like friends or family. It doesn't make sense that Johnny would do all these things in full view of his own security and full view of Amber's friends, or while her friend is on the phone so that they can hear what's happening. Just don't see how he could be in control if he's taken allegedly 8 ecstasy tablets and drink on top of that.
So that's like fast forwarding to the alleged incident in Australia, where first she's completely butchered her own marriage date. She mentioned in her new statement that they had a fight about their upcoming marriage, where in reality in March 2015 they'd already been married for 1 month. So that's that kind of out the window.
Oops.
But yeah, so during this time, she says that he went on a 3-day ecstasy bender and he took 8 ecstasy pills. She says he wrote on mirrors all these messages, partially in blood, partially in paints.
Dear life in these United States, a funny thing happened to me. Oh.
Use a pen, Sideshow Bob.
Now, the 2 photos she supplied, it looks like the same mirror, only in one of them appears to be oil paints, the other appears to be Sharpies. So, was she expecting us to believe that he took 8 ecstasy pills, had a load of drink down him, and then started writing messages to her in oil paint on the mirror that went, I don't know, this doesn't quite express my deep inner emotions. Let's just get the Brillo pads out and, some fennel fairy liquid, just wipe that mirror off. Right. Gets the Sharpie out, writes notes to her,
Yeah. 8 is also a very specific number. How would she have known that unless she was there to count them herself?
Yeah. And she said she was barricaded in the bathroom, and I'd say, well, I'd be impressed if he could count. I'd actually, if anybody was able to take 8 ecstasy pills plus booze, I would really, first congratulate them on not dying, and secondly, maybe call them an ambulance, especially if they were a danger to themselves and a danger to her, as she's saying, she'd barricaded herself in the bathroom, yet she still managed to count how many ecstasy pills he'd taken and what stage that he'd written on the mirror.
Abuser always likes to be in control of a situation. Mm-hmm. That can't happen if you're pilled up or drunk on a regular basis. I mean, why would you risk it? And again, just to go back to a cynical point of view, like, why would he even risk his career?
No, exactly.
I mean, at the end of the day, right now, he's wanting all this to be heard in a court of law. Pardon the pun. Yet Amber doesn't.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes to me.
To me, like, we could just have this video 20 seconds long. He wants her to take the stand and submit every iota of evidence that she has. She wants it dismissed.
Yeah.
Video over.
Why would he take such a gamble if he was in the wrong?
Exactly. If your abuser was taunting you with lawsuits or whatever, why would you then say, oh yeah, just like please have it dismissed? Like, I don't know how that can sit with her supporters. I genuinely, like, I speaking to a friend of mine a while back who's a Johnny Depp fan who knows a person who's an Amber Heard fan, and I said, like, she was like, okay, I respect my friend's view, we don't talk about it, that's fine. But I'd be saying, like, I would like to, if I knew somebody like that, I would like to genuinely sit them down, okay, please explain to me how you believe her.
So another strange aspect we're expected to believe about alleged abuse happened during the other infamous incident that supposedly took place, and that was the phone throwing situation, where both Johnny and Amber were considerate enough to provide audio descriptions for the blind during this, whereby Johnny was saying, how about I pull your hair back, how about I punch you in the face, and Amber would say, Johnny, stop hitting me in the face, or it's just...
Well, it's audio description because for the blind, I mean, I.O. was at the other side of the country, I.O. tell it right.
Via the phone.
And
that Brian fella goes into incredible detail, and if you watch that, it'll certainly make more sense in the context that he's putting forward. Mm-hmm. But again, this is just one of the many details that raises questions for us. I don't see a lot of people talking about, but something that's very striking to me, and that's the body language, namely in the dog apology video. So just to give a slight background, it turned out that Amber Heard had falsified documents, or was it that she didn't even file documents?
She falsified documents to get her dogs to Australia to visit Johnny on the set of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes, and I believe as part of a settlement, Amber had to produce an apology video, which again we'll just link to the description below, but the video itself also included Johnny.
I mean, he wasn't obligated to appear in that video at all. She was the one responsible. She was the one in court in trouble legally and everything. So he wasn't, of course. The media always make it all about him, and they basically, pushed the narrative that it was him, that they were both to blame.
If you look at the body language in that video, and there are several others as well, it just doesn't tie up with the whole Johnny was the dominant one, Amber was the victim. Because if you just look at the posture, Amber's like very sat upright, she's very confident. Johnny's kind of slumped. I don't want to say he looks disinterested. He was just there. He's almost as if he was... I'm not saying he was, but the impression was it's almost as if he was forced to be there. His delivery was kind of bordering on comical. I don't think he was purposely trying to make light. But one thing I really noticed was because again, he was slumped back like this. Amber was like this, almost in a way towering over him.
Like, Mom.
And at the end of the video, you can plainly see, because the Australian government themselves posted it on their YouTube page, after Johnny said thank you, she shot him the dirtiest of looks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like if looks could kill, he would have been a dead man there.
I mean, if she's like this victim who's terrified of this guy who could get drunk and attack her at any given moment, why would you shoot him a dirty look? Why would you be sitting completely confident, even actor or not? Why would you be sitting upright completely confident? And why would you even ask this monster to be in your video, your apology video? You'd want him to stay as far away as possible. You don't want to get him into any sort of bad publicity that might put him in a bad mood, that might make him take his anger out on you. Like, that makes,
Yeah, because in Amber's version of events, she was the sole focus of his anger and abuse.
Yeah.
So you would think logically, as an abuse victim, you would try to do everything to keep your abuser happy. What was the name of that show where her car was made over?
Overhauling.
Overhauling.
Yeah. I keep on looking that up on YouTube if anybody wants to link me to it in the comments. I've not seen the full video, but I think we've all seen the scenes where she makes some remark, he only hit you once.
Yeah, about her father, like, say, oh, he only hit him once. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's just like,
wow.
Okay. So, I mean, she comes across in that as, they're playing this prank on her that her car has been taken away or whatever, but she comes across as a very combative person. And then when it turns out she gets, surprised by Johnny, oh, yeah, you're on overhauling, yay. She kind of like jokingly starts slapping him, both her and her father twice.
You can actually, so hard you can actually hear the contact. You can hear it's not just like a wee AU. It's like full on enough to make a slapping noise.
Yeah. I'm blown away. I'm speechless. I can't believe all of this. You both my tricksters here.
One point as well, she's shaking him like this here as well. Like, if you were that scared of this guy, you don't want to make him look small or, any sort of way, because the next time he has a bottle of champagne, he might go a bit cray-cray on me,
So for those of you who don't know, like, Johnny is a musician as well. He recently became part of a supergroup called the Hollywood Vampires, along with Joe Perry, Tommy Hendrickson, and Alice Cooper. Now, for those of you unaware, Alice Cooper had battled with substance abuse in the 70s and 80s to the point where he was on death's door. He made a full recovery. He hasn't touched a drink in 30 years now, and in fact has gone on to help other stars to beat their addictions as well.
The former social deviant and party animal is now sought out by artists seeking inspiration and wise counsel in their own battles with drug and alcohol addiction.
Movie stars I've had call me, big movie stars, and say, how do you kick it? And I'd have to tell them, first of all, you have to want to. You can't just want to get dry. You have to really want to get rid of it.
So, based on that, the period of time that we're expected to believe that Johnny was on ecstasy, he was on drink, and he was just like this uncontrollable addict, that this was taking place around 2012 to 2015, which was the same period of time that the Hollywood Vampires were recording their first album.
So once again, I'd be interested to hear from any of these guys, okay, how much did you see Johnny drink?
Yeah, and not only that, but like a portion of Alice's most recent album, Paranormal, was also recorded in Johnny Depp's
Jill
house.
Perry's latest album, I say, is very good. Switzerland Manifesto was actually named after Johnny's house, the nickname for it, and yeah, it was also recorded in his house as well. Johnny produced it.
So if Johnny was even taking a third of what Amber alleges he was during that time, there's no doubt in my mind Alice would have said something, or he would have even flat out refused to work with him. He would have been of the mind, you know what, you need to get help first, because it's not within his culture, it's not within his personality to be working with someone or that is under the influence and that needs help, as bad as Johnny reportedly needed help at the time. That's one of the major reasons that I don't believe these allegations against Johnny, because the Hollywood Vampires, as we know them, would not even exist if that was the case.
Exactly. I mean, the 2 years it took to record the album, like, that's kind of common now, the Vampires. I mean, they have, because they're obviously mainly made up of 3 guys who have very tight schedules, very busy schedules, to get them all together at one time. But definitely during that period of 2012 to 2014, 2015, Alice and Jill would have been frequently at Johnny's house or in his company.
Yeah.
And like you said, Alice, he's been there himself. He's seen the signs.
He would know if somebody was drinking or if someone was trying to hide a problem. And I'm sorry, but to go back to what Amber expects us to believe, you can't take 8 ecstasy tablets and just sit down and act normally and try to hide it.
She's basically claiming that he took these 8 ecstasy pills. I mean, my thought was, like I said, call the ambulance and said, or get out of there as well, because if you're that afraid, he's going to take his anger out on you. But instead she sits there for 3 days and just lets him crack on with it as he allegedly smashes glass and rips her nightdress off.
Another member, of course, of the Hollywood Vampires is Tommy Henriksen, who is a family man. He has a wife. He's got a young son. So people can say, oh, well, they're only defending Johnny because he's part of their band, they have to defend him. Well, that's all well and good, but if you're taking that line of thinking, then okay, they're only going to go in and record and tour and do the bare minimum on a professional level.
There was an interview there, I think it was late last year, with Tommy Henriksen, and he lives in Switzerland. It was an interview for a German or a Swiss magazine, in which he said that him and his Johnny and he and his wife had gone out to Johnny's house in France on holiday. They've stayed in his house in Los Angeles many times. Even when Tommy was away touring with Alice last year, Johnny was in Zurich, near where the Henriksens live. Tommy's wife and child went to visit Johnny in his hotel and hung out with him for a few hours or whatever. And Johnny regularly as well Skypes the family and speaks to Tommy's little boy. So once again, I just cannot, we've met Tommy, he's a lovely, lovely person, and he's a real family man, but I could not imagine him wanting his wife and child to hang around with this, junkie alcoholic who flips at any given switch and beats the crap out of people. In fact, I even think in that particular interview, Johnny was quoted as saying, I like Tommy is my friend because he's not afraid to disagree with me, or something like that. He's not kind of bowled over he's not starstruck by the celebrity or whatever. He's not afraid to disagree with me. He'll speak his mind and tell me when I'm in the wrong. So I don't think that Tommy's just would turn a blind eye to that.
So in conclusion, those are mainly the details and the questions that kind of jumped out at us, and the questions that were raised in our minds. Anything we've put forward here have either been publicly been made available or are in the court documents, or they're just our opinions, they're just theories. Everything we say, we try to be sure that we can back it up.
The tides are beginning to turn on the Me Too movement, thankfully. I'm seeing more and more people on social media basically apologising to Johnny Depp for judging him and wanting him to be discast or
cancelled is the word.
Cancelled. I'm just not woke enough, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But so it's great to see people on-cancelling him. That's the right word, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah. and just another thing on that, like Amber Heard in an interview stated that as a result of this, she felt that she was being blackballed. Now this at a time where she was the co-star in DC's most successful movie to date. Yeah, I think it should go to court, and I think, you know, the truth will out. While the justice system is far from perfect, it's the only one we have, and it's the only thing that keeps us as a civilized society. Otherwise, it's guilty until proven innocent, which is a really negative side effect of this Me Too movement. Now, I think it's something we need to clarify. Is like, we're not criticizing the base concept of Me Too. It's something that needs to happen. Genuine victims need to be heard. Genuine perpetrators need to be brought to justice. Absolutely. It's just the fact that it is also giving way to false allegations that are seemingly being written off as, oh, well, it's just collateral damage, as if it's something that needs to happen as well. It doesn't. These kind of things ruin lives, and if the wrong people believe these false allegations, then yeah, a person's livelihood and life can be ruined beyond repair.
That's what I actually love about Johnny Depp. Like, he's always been so honest about his past, his difficult childhood. He's always been open to saying that he did take drugs in the past. And I think looking at it and reading between the lines of Amber's statements, she seems to be very selective in things that she remembers. She seems to remember exactly how many E's that he allegedly took, how much wine he drank or whatever. And then for him, and then she seems to almost like gaslight him the next day by going, oh yeah, it's so wrong, I can't go on like this, and then make him feel, oh, I'm so sorry. And it's like, and that's how it works, like in an abusive relationship, trying to make him feel more guilty about it, which is then going to make him feel more depressed, which is then going to make him worse. She was
trying to create a vicious cycle.
Yeah, trying to control him, then trying to set him up into situations where he might have perhaps raised his voice or something at her, to which she could then turn around to everybody and go, you see, told you, he's abusive, he does this all the time. And as always, wishing Johnny all the best, and it's a very difficult time as well for him. Obviously, this has all come out following the death of his bodyguard and his close friends.
The timings of these releases are always very convenient as well, aren't they?
I mean, it's like a month before, 2 months before he goes on tour again with the bands. His new film's finally got a trailer. People are beginning to apologise, to realise that he's not an abuser, and then suddenly all this stuff comes out. And it seems to be every single time she's made allegations, it always seems to be around the time one of his new movies was out. Even that opinion editorial where this lawsuit stems from was in around the time that Fantastic Beasts was released. And Aquaman was also being released, so it's obviously promoting her career, but also reminding the public that
these allegations exist.
Yeah, exactly. So trying to drag him down.
It's also worth mentioning that Johnny is still in the process of suing the Sun newspaper in the UK as well for defamation.
I really hope he wins that, and like, they really need to realise that you can't go around accusing people of being wife beaters or sex abusers or whatever.
Yeah. I also want to point out that in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard relationship, the only person in that relationship that has a criminal record of domestic violence is not Johnny Depp, but Amber Heard herself.
Yeah. I mean, people always, I've had so many Johnny Depp haters kind of citing to me, oh, but, he destroyed a hotel room when he was in a relationship with Kate Moss, so he must have abused Kate Moss. Like, well, Kate Moss has always defended him. And, so he trashed the hotel room. I can't condone that, but that's not necessarily a sign of domestic violence, because once again, abusers don't tend to destroy the furniture. They tend to turn on
the person.
It's on people. Yeah. So I mean, there's no real weight with that. And even like Amber's, exhibits in her declaration, parts of destroyed furniture and whatnot, like, that's once again not necessarily a sign of domestic abuse, apart from, and even that's aside from the fact that there's no metadata supplied with any of these photos. And the photos of her red face, we've covered that once again. Her face would have been much more busted up if you're punched by a guy who
wearing numerous rings.
Yeah. Quite frankly, to me, it almost looks like a lot of the photographs, the first time I saw them, I actually thought they were from rhinoplasty or Botox. They look more like that to me. And I've seen photographs of Amber Heard over the years. Like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this necessarily, but she's definitely
This
had
is just
some
a
work
theory.
done. Yeah, this is a theory, but she's definitely had some work done. So when these photos were from, God only knows. But to me, as soon as I heard that she didn't supply the metadata with them, that for me was very telling. Like, why would you do that? Why would you kind of print hard copies of a photograph off and not supply the digital copy? Why wouldn't you keep that?
Yeah, the digital copy, which of course would be timestamped and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it would also, it'd be timestamped, and it would prove that what you were saying was true, and it collaborated with your story.
Yeah.
Collaborated with your story.
I think so. I believe that we've covered everything that we wanted to cover. So if you've stuck with us this long, thanks for watching. And if you like what you see or what you've heard, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share. And yeah, so thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.